What's up, guys? My name is Tim. This is New Craft Workshop. This is our intermediate woodworking series. All right, this is episode 2 of our intermediate series already. So we're going to follow the same format we did in episode 1. We are going to have section 1, which is going to rebuild a beginner's project from our beginner series, but we're going to dress it up with the use of all the tools in the shop, mainly the router table, table saw, planer, drill press, you name it. But we're going to dress up a beginner's project, make it look really nice, and definitely make it look like a more advanced build. Section 2 is tools, tips, and techniques. Today we're going to talk about joinery. And section 3 is going to be our original build. Now, today's original build is freaking awesome.
Is it awesome?
It's pretty awesome.
I have left it as an intermediate build. We're going to be using some pocket holes. We're going to use the planer, the table saw, and the miter saw. And I think that's pretty much it. But this table for outside is really nice, and it's made nothing but 2x4s. You're going to love it. So let's get right into these builds with project number 1. All right, so let's get after build number 1. This is going to be a very easy build, but we are going to step it up with some tools in the shop. I'm doing such an easy build for project 1 today because project 2 is time consuming, nothing difficult. It's just a long build, and I do not want to put a 45 or 50-minute video up for you guys. I'm trying to keep this edited down to right at 30 minutes for each of these episodes. So I have to give credit to this person right here. They sent me their build of this, which I asked you guys to do, and I love the way he did this. So we're just going to kind of mimic that today. So thank you for the idea. We are going to use some poplar and some walnut today to make this thing look extremely nice. We are using 4/4 stock from the lumber yard. If you guys don't have a lumber yard in your area, you can feel free to use 1x4, pine, cedar, poplar, oak. You're going to be able to get all that stuff at the big box stores. What we're going to do is we're going to cut our pieces down. We're going to rip them to a narrower width over at the table saw, and then we're going to do a walnut inlay line down the middle and glue it up, give it a whole lot more of a higher end look for such a quick and easy build. So as we always do, let's get started with our cut list. We are going to need 2 pieces of 6-inch wide poplar. We're going to cut that at 9 inches. And then we are going to need a piece of walnut that is at least 2.5, 3 inches wide. We're also going to need that cut to 9 inches. That's it. Well, hold on. Dowels. We will need 2 4-inch long 1/2-inch dowels. And you're going to need something to put on top of those dowels to keep the this part, whatever this is called, from coming off. I am simply using these, if I could grab them. My wife had these in the craft room. They're just little hemispheres. Yeah, I think that's right. Somebody corrected me the last time I said that. We're just going to glue these on top when we're done. But that's it as far as your material. Now, as far as your tool list, we are going to need the miter saw to cut everything to length. We are going to need the table saw to rip all of this to width. We are going to need some clamps because we are putting some material together edge to edge, so we're going to need clamps today. Once everything is glued and set up, we're going to run it through the planer. We are going to need our router table because we do want a nice decorative edge on this when we're done. And then we're going to need our drill press. I want these holes drilled into here as straight as possible because, as I told you when I built this on the beginner series, if your hole is crooked, your dowel is crooked, and nobody wants a crooked dowel.
That's what she said.
So that's it for your tool list. If you're not using a drill press, you can use a hand drill, of course. Oh, and you'll need a Forstner bit, 1/2 inch, same diameter as the dowels. That's it. Let's get right after this build. All right, we're back with our pieces cut, and hopefully you can see on this camera over here, we've got our 1-inch pieces that are going to go between our poplar. We've taken our 3 1/4-inch pieces here and our leftovers here. This is going to make our top that's going to eventually sit down on top of this. So the first thing we need to do is we need to do our glue up. This is going to take a little bit to set up. What we are going to do is take all of our freshly cut edges from the table saw, line those up, glue them up. We're going to put this in here, clamp this down, give it about an hour or so to set up. First thing we're going to do is just glue this up. And whenever we're doing a glue up like this, we definitely want to make sure we get good coverage. And we're going to glue both pieces of this material and lay this in here. All right, that is glued up. We're going to set this aside, give it about an hour or so. It should be secure enough for us to start on the next steps. So let's fast forward to this. I'll catch you in a second. All right, these are out of the clamps and these are ready to go. A couple more steps and then this thing can get assembled. We are going to run over to the planer. I am going to take off just barely enough to clean this up and smooth out these two sides. Then we're going to head back over to the miter saw, cut these to final length. Both of these pieces are going to be cut to 9 inches. And then we're going to head over to the table saw, cut them to final width. This one is going to be 7. This one is going to be 4. Now, this piece right here is currently 4 3/8. Don't go take 3/8 off from one side because then this is not going to be in the center and you're going to have your lines offset. We need to make sure that we take off the exact same amount on both sides and keep this in the center. Same on the bottom so that when this goes together, this all lines up and looks like it is in line with each other, right?
Wait, for real?
For real, for real.
So, planer, miter saw, table saw, then back to the workbench. I'll catch you guys in just a minute. All right, let's get these holes drilled. Now, these are the same exact length because we cut them to be so. We are going to move our hole in from the edge 1 inch. Just going to put a mark here in the center on both ends. And then we're going to find the center of this board in a moment, but first let's mark both of these 1 inch from the end. And then we will find the center of this board. And the reason I wasn't saying exactly where the center of my boards are is because if you cut your boards even 1/8 of an inch shorter than I did, your center mark is not going to be where my center mark is. Find your center on your own. You can do that. It's intermediate series. You got this. Let's get this bit changed out here. We're going to start with our larger bit. This is going to go for our top. This is a 3/4 inch diameter bit. That is going to be for our top piece. Now our smaller bit, the 1/2 inch bit that is specifically for our 1/2 inch dowels, when we drill into this, we don't need to go all the way through. We're just going to go about 1/4 of an inch deep. All right, we are almost done. 2 more quick steps. We are going to put some glue on these dowels, push these dowels into these holes. This is going to stay in place with nothing more than some glue. Once that's installed, we can drop our top down, put our caps on. This project is done. Might not be your style. You might want something different on top, a little more decorative. Do you, like I always tell you guys on this channel, what does it say? What do we say? What? Make it your own. That's it. Let's glue these things in place and call this build a wrap. All right, that's it. I'm going to rub this thing down once it dries with some of this Butcher Block conditioner. This is going to bring out the color contrast and the beauty of this walnut and poplar like you saw in the intro video. As far as build 2, rebuild of beginner's project, the napkin holder, I think we definitely stepped this thing up. Again, I wanted this to be super quick today because build 2 today, it's tedious and it took me a while. So let's wrap up number 1. Let's move on to tools, tips, and techniques.
Tools, tips, technique. Today's topic, joinery.
All right, so let's start out by talking about the most basic joint out there, a butt joint. This joint is where we're just going to take two pieces of wood, butt them up against each other, and glue them in place. Most of the time, we're going to actually strengthen this joint by adding some brads or even some screws, but this is by far the most basic beginner joint out there. All right, next we're going to talk about miter joints. So these are created by cutting two pieces of wood at a specific angle. Most of the time, we're going to cut these at 45 to create a 90-degree joint, but you can cut these at any angle to create any angle joint. These are basic joinery that a beginner is probably going to be using out in their shop. Again, gluing this together is going to give us a good strong joint, but there are ways to strengthen this joint. And as we move into intermediate woodworking, we're going to learn things like biscuit miter jointery, which we're going to take a biscuit cutter, cut slots in either side of our miter, insert a biscuit. That biscuit is going to swell when we glue it in place, and that joint is going to become extremely strong. We also have the ability to do some spline joinery in our miters. We're going to put our miters together. We're going to cut some notches, insert some splines. The increased glue area is going to strengthen that joint again, but splines also offer the look. There is a very distinct look of spline joinery. Some people really appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into some of these intricate designs in spline joinery. This is a extremely strong joint that is also a very beautiful joint. And then lastly, what we use here in our shop is going to be some half lap miters. We're basically going to cut our two pieces at our 45-degree angle to form our 90, and then we're going to remove half of the material from each of these pieces of wood. And when this goes together, again, we're going to have a very large glue surface strengthening this joint. And then finally, we've got lock miter joints. Now, lock miter joints are going to require the use of your router table and a specialized lock miter for your router table. They are going to give you a nice, tight fit, lots of glue surface, and they're going to be extremely strong. All right, next, let's hit on biscuit joints real quick again. So biscuit joinery has kind of taken a back seat to Domino's, which I'm not a big fan of the F Word Tool Company, but to each their own. If it was good enough for Norm Abram back in the day when he was doing biscuit joinery, it's going to be good enough for my shop as well. You're going to cut a biscuit slot in each of your two pieces you're wanting to join up. And when you insert that biscuit, glue it up, put these pieces together and clamp them down. That biscuit is going to swell, and that's going to lock that joint into place. All right, and last we've got dado and rabbet joinery. Now, dados and rabbets require a specialized blade for your table saw called a dado stack. If you are in a part of the world that is not allowed to purchase dado stacks, which I still find extremely humorous, there are ways to get around that by using just your saw blade and inching your way across the actual joint you're trying to cut. But a dado and a rabbet is basically the same thing. The difference is the placement in your material. A dado is something you're going to cut in the middle portion of your material. A rabbet is something that is going to be cut on the edge. The most common is going to be when we're using 3/4 inch plywood we're going to cut a 3/4 inch rabbet or a 3/4 inch dado. That's going to accept our plywood and strengthen that joint. Most of the time, especially when we're building cabinetry for our shop or any kind of shop project, we're going to strengthen that joint by adding some screws to the end on the outside of that joinery. It's just going to give us that extra holding capability. Shop projects, especially where we're loading up these cabinets with all of our heavy shop stuff. All right, so hopefully that expands a little bit on what you know about joinery. As you move from beginner into intermediate woodworking, there are some basic principles that you're going to need to learn to master to create some nicer projects out in your shop. Only knowing butt joints and miter joints is going to limit your capabilities on the projects you build. And hopefully today I've shed some light on some of the joints that we use here in our shop to make some of our projects. So let's wrap this up and get on to project number 2.
Now, as always, the first thing we're going to do is go over our cut list, and then we're going to get the actual build started. So here we go. Here's your cut list. So for our legs, we are going to need a total of 8 pieces of our 2x4. Those are going to be cut at 29 inches long. Again, always trust the cut list. Even though I have my cheat sheet here because there's a few components today, this cut list goes in after the video is made. When I edit, it's always right. 4 pieces, 29 inches, that's for our legs. Now, connecting those legs, we're going to have 4 apron pieces. Our 2 side apron pieces are going to be 52 inches long, and our 2 end pieces that are going to be for our apron are going to be 28 3/4. Now, as far as the top is concerned, we're going to need 2 end pieces. Those are going to be cut at 38 3/4.
Wait. See, this right here is why I tell you guys follow the cut list. Things changed during this build process, so what I said out of my mouth is not what I finished up doing. Always
We're going to
trust the
need
cut list.
12 pieces at 54 inches. Those 12 are going to be the length of our table plus our end pieces to make this nice design we've got for our top. That's it as far as your cut list. Now, we're going to talk about what we need as far as tools. So here's your tool list. We, of course, are going to need our miter saw to cut everything to length. We're going to need our table saw to cut everything down, get those rounded edges off, and then cut everything to final width. We're going to use our planer today. We want a nice smooth surface on all of this material, especially the side that's going to be up on our table. We're going to need our router. We are going to do some round over today on all of our top pieces once they get installed. And then, or maybe a chamfer, I don't know yet. I'm going to see how it looks once I get it going. And then finally, we are going to need our pocket hole jig today because this tabletop and our aprons are all going to attach via pocket hole screws. So you got your cut list, you got your tool list, let's get after it. All right, now it's time to glue up these legs. We are going to take our flat side up, the side that we just ran through the planer, and we are going to coat these with some glue. Once they are all glued up, we'll put them in pairs like this, put them in our clamps, clamp these together, move these over to the side. These are going to rest, and the glue is going to set up while we get everything else built. So let's get to gluing. We are outside, so tight bond 3, as always on our outdoor projects, and we're going to use a ton of glue. All right, we're just going to pick these up, put them together in groups of 2 inside of our clamps, glue side facing each other. And I'm pulling from either end, just, I don't know why. I think I didn't get a very good glue spread. Put these all together, get our clamps spread apart. And along the top here, I don't know if you can see this on camera or not, I'm not even too worried about getting these lined up. I mean, we still have at least 1/4 of an inch to take off of these to get them down to our final dimensions. So as long as they're glued together and our ends are lined up, we're going to wind up squaring all of these up anyway. We're taking enough off to where I don't really need to worry too much about the unevenness of the sides of these boards here. So we're going to flip this over real quick, and we are going to get this set up to where we can move this over and get this thing drying out and move on to step 2, which is getting that top going. All right, the legs are squared up, and remember, we cut these a little bit long so that we could trim them to exact length when we were done. So I'm gonna head over to the miter saw, clean up one end, set up a stop block, cut all 4 of these to the same exact length. So be right back. When this table is finished, I do want the tabletop to have a round over or a chamfer. I'm still thinking as I'm talking to you guys, but we need to do our legs now. The tabletop, once it's built, I can use my handheld router and do my edges once that is all assembled. But I want to go ahead and knock out our aprons. Just the bottom edge of our apron. Top edge, of course, is going to be up against the tabletop, so we don't need to worry about that. But I want to do the bottom edge of our side aprons and the bottom edge of our other aprons if I can find them. They're in here somewhere in this stack of goodies. So we are going to, I'm sorry, I'm still looking for them and I'm not sure exactly where they went. So I'll find them. Hey, so we're going to do a little bit of routing first. I definitely want to get all 4 sides of the table legs because we are working with dimensional 2x4 big box store lumber. Once I go to assemble this top, I'm not sure exactly which side is going to be facing out. It's going to depend on kind of how it all goes together and what looks the best as I get it done. So I'm just going to run all 4 sides across the router table. And then once that is done, then we can start drilling a ton of pocket holes. So follow me for the next few minutes. I'll speed this up as fast as I can because watching somebody do pocket holes is probably not all that fun. So let's get to it. All right, it is finally time to start assembly. We're going to start with the top. And what I've done is just put a stop block. This is the end piece of our tabletop. And these are the pieces that are going to make up the length. And this is how this is going to go together. We're going to run this in with some glue. And we are going to use, sorry, I did not grab these first because, you know, that's how I do it sometimes. We are going to use the blue epoxy coated pocket hole screws for this. We're going to start by putting some glue on the end of this. We're going to butt this up against here, put this stop block here so I can really put some nice pressure on this. I'm not even going to bother clamping these 2 pieces together, which I would do on a smaller project, because I've got the stop block and I can really put some pressure up against this. Once I glue it and screw this in place, it's going to be flush enough on the top. Besides, we're going to give this thing a very long, very tedious sanding when we're done. So glue, screws, let's get to it. All right, top is assembled. It's time to assemble our base. Now, once all of this is together, you're going to see that I am going to sand and sand and sand on this thing. It is 2x4s, dimensional lumber from the big box store. And if I'm being honest with you, there's a lot of twists in 2x4s. So even after we run them through the planer and get a nice smooth surface, we've still got some twists and some bows. We're going to finish all of that off when we sand this thing down at the end and make this thing super smooth. We want it as smooth as possible. It's our tabletop. We don't want dishes, plates, etc. getting caught on here. So let's move this out of the way and let's get started on our base assembly. All right, this is going to go together very similarly. We're going to take our side aprons and our end aprons, and that's going to be the first thing that we install. Now, when this goes together, we're going to want this is our side apron. We're going to want this recessed about 1/4 of an inch. It's going to put us right at the bottom of that chamfer, and it's going to give this a little dimension on the end. So in order to get it to look like that, we're going to use the same 1/4 inch spacer we were using, and we're just simply going to lift this up off of the workbench about 1/4 of an inch. Then we're going to glue, screw this together. We're going to do our 2 ends, then we'll put our 2 longer pieces in, and then our base is finished. So let's get this going with some glue. Same thing, a couple blue coated screws, just like we did the other assembly for the tabletop. All right, and I'm sure that some of you might have noticed when we put those 2 pieces together, there are no pocket holes drilled here going up, which will technically be going into the bottom of our tabletop. I did that because I decided I am going to glue this together. I did put 3 along here So there will be 6 screws holding this in place while the glue sets up. I think that's going to be more than enough. Sorry, I told you I was going to put some in this and then didn't do it. But like I've told you before, sometimes in the process of these builds, plans change a little bit. So that's what happened. So same thing, we're going to use our 1/4 inch spacers. I'm just going to raise this up a little bit, glue it, pop this in place, get these two on, complete our base, and we're ready to put our tabletop on. All right, we're going to move this down to the ground because there's no room to work up there. Hopefully I can get this thing down without killing myself. All right. I don't know if you noticed there at the end, I had to pull a board, put it back up here and reinstall it because although I can edit these videos at the end and I make a ton of mistakes, I don't always show them, but I figured today I would show you because I did exactly what I warned you about at the very beginning, which is those aprons have a chamfered side to them. The chamfered side needs to go down. My board got installed with the chamfer side up. So we took it off, re-glued, reinstalled. We're ready to go. So we're going to get that top up here flipped upside down. We're going to center this. We're going to glue it in place. We're going to put 6 pocket holes to hold it, and this build is done. So let's get this top installed. And we've designed this to have an inch overhang here and here, and on either end it actually is going to be about 1.5 inches. So we're just going to center this. We're going to mark our spot. We're going to mark, sorry about that. We're going to mark our 4 corners. Then we're going to lift this up, put some glue down, put it back on our marks, and then this build is done. All right. This, all right, it's a heavy table, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to get this down, show you exactly what this thing looks like from the other side. Chamfering all sides of this also eliminated some sharp edges when you're sliding your seat in and out of the table itself. So let me flip this thing over, show you guys what it looks like, and this will be it. We're done, finally. So let's do this. All right, guys, that is it. Trying to keep these episodes as short as possible, so I'm not going to show you guys the finishing of this, which is basically just an hour plus of sanding.
Is that right? Seems like way too much.
Because look, we're using 2x4 framing lumber. There's some cups and bows, twists, etc., that we do need to get out of here. And then I'm gonna run my router over the edge, put a chamfer on the top, coat it with some Thompson's water seal. This thing is done. If you guys are interested in seeing that process, I won't be doing that until this weekend after this video airs. So let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see the sanding and the routing and the finishing of this project. I don't have a problem popping that video up for you guys if you're interested in it. 2 weeks from now, episode 3 is out with another beginner's rebuild, some more tools, tips, and technique talk, and a new fresh build on the intermediate level. Next Friday, episode 10 already of our beginners series is out. Last thing, please, if you've got some photos of some of your builds that you have gotten inspiration from us here on our channel, please send them to me. I am on Facebook and Instagram, New Craft Workshop. You can find me under that tag, and you can email me at newcraftworkshop.com. Click the email link. Send me some pictures. I'd love to start posting some pictures of the community's builds as we pop up these videos. It'd be awesome if I could start sharing your work with everybody watching. So that's all I got for you today, guys. Episode 2 is a wrap. Appreciate you giving me 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I don't know how long this is going to wind up being after editing, but whatever it is, I appreciate you guys watching, and we will catch you on YouTube.